Welcome to Case Economic World News. I'm Joseph Weber.
And I'm Levi Eels.
Today, we look at some of the many developing countries in the world. Our first story comes to us from Cuba and involves some nasty environmental issues faced by the country. After that, we take a trip to Swaziland and investigate the pollution factors that also affect this nation. Now on to you, Levi, who will be diving deeper into Cuba's issues.
Thank you, Joseph. Deforestation and water pollution are the major environmental problems Cuba faces, which were produced by bad farming techniques and natural disasters. Deforestation is normally caused by overcutting trees and farmers not controlling the amount of cattle on each farm. An article posted just last year on July 1st by Erica Good states that this is no new problem for Cuba or its Caribbean neighbors. This is not just a one-man act. All of different islands have eroded beaches, destroyed forests, polluted rivers, and dismantled entire coral reefs. Not like no action to correct this havoc hasn't been taken. In March, U.S. Agricultural Coalition for Cuba and many other organizations took a flight to Cuba in order to meet up with Cuban officials.
Hopefully we can help come up with a solution for them.
Although the Cubans are having it rough, they're not the only ones.
Thank you, Levi. For now, we will all see you right after this commercial break.
Brought to you by Dexatoast, number one choice by doctors to cure your most stubborn eating habits. Mama June from Honey Boo Boo recently lost 200 pounds from Dexatoast. Then she found it. The first month is free. The second month you get for the low price of $200 a month, but if you can call right now, we can double that price to $400. This product is very addictive. Side effects may include sleepy feet, constipation, crippling depression, troubles passing urine, compulsive questioning disorder, Tourette syndrome, compulsive eating disorder, sudden loss of balance, increased sweating, hallucinations, uncontrollable flatulence, ticklish ribcage, dryness of throat, severely untrimmed toenails, death, hypersomnia, and may link to heroin addiction. Not an alternative to heroin. Recommend to stay away from casinos and other forms of gambling. Now you can finally get rid of your fat pants. Thanks, Dexatoast, the fastest way to lose your weight gain problem.
Breaking news, right now Zimbabweans are going through a rough farming patch due to the harsh drought. Will they make it through this hunger crisis? We can only hope.
Now we move on to our next story, and it's from Jamaica. The JDETF, the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force, has officially raised $2 million over the last 3 months.
That's really nice that the JDETF is that skilled to raise $2 million for the school. Today we will be considering developing world economies. On that subject, our breaking news story is on Brazil's former president, Dilma Rousseff, who is being impeached over oil money bribery, dating back to the previous president, Lula da Silva.
The company in question in the bribery scandal is Petrobras, of which 64% of the company is owned by the Brazilian government itself, meaning the sitting government was directly impacting the election through campaign funds. As the number one oil company in Brazil, they have control of the country, similar to a monopoly.
Petrobras funds were used in the funding of Dilma Rousseff and Lula da Silva's during their election.
The results of the scandal had Petrobras lose $9.6 billion US. The impact at home from this scandal is the setback to relations with Brazil as a stable country in the region due to Brazil's recovery from the 2008 recession, along with it hosting large worldwide events like the 2016 Summer Olympics, made them an excellent candidate for stabilizing the region.
The interim president, Michael Temer, is expected to serve out the remainder of the term, which ends in 2018, despite the accusations against him while he was Dilma Rousseff's vice president, and after he split her cabinet from earlier this year, his own corruption and his failure to appoint any female Afro-Brazilian ministers to the cabinet.
Well, now on to Dean Grant.
Good morning. Today we are here to discuss Zimbabwe's food and water shortage, and later we will be talking about their poor farming practices.
The reason why we face starvation today is because we have underutilized land owned by those with limited competence in growing food for the country. Most would rather grow tobacco and not food. The reason why we had hyperinflation in 2008 was because Gideon Gano printed money like newspapers, which was not used to increase our productive capacity.
I get your point, but I see it differently. Zimbabwe needs to focus on their biggest exports instead of experimenting with other ways to bring in money. Their biggest export is tobacco, and if they focused on producing that crop, they may be able to start growing their economy once again. They have never made too much tobacco, and they have made lots of money growing this plant.
I disagree, Dean. Tobacco isn't going to feed these people. If the people of Zimbabwe stopped growing tobacco altogether and focused on crops alone, they would be way better off. Money is not the issue here. These people need fed.
I see your point, Grant, but Zimbabwe is not used to growing crops. So what if these methods fail and they don't have enough food to feed the people? They should stick with what they're good at, and so they have money to buy the things they are currently lacking. The same people that are malnutritioned also have life-threatening diseases. Tell me how your vegetables will help with that.
If they learn to grow crops, then they won't be able to feed themselves and not rely on other countries, and then they can be rich and grow their own food.
This is not about being rich. This is about having food to eat so these people don't die. Maybe once they can get their feet under them, they can worry about getting rich. But for now, they should be focusing on getting resources that are necessary for their health.
If their meal is coming from a local source and it is close to their homes, the people of Zimbabwe can have all the food they want and not have to rely on anyone.
Once again, these crops are not going to help disease. If they stop growing tobacco, the economy will crash and they will have nothing. They need tobacco to help pay for medicine.
Having a good source of healthy food will help with disease, and if not, it will cure it. Growing more tobacco does not help starving people. They need to make more food and localize their economy and focus on growing food crops.
With Zimbabwe's future workforce in trouble from malnutrition and dehydration, the country needs to think of a solution fast and stop this downward spiral of destruction.
I agree. If their country and their president hasn't came up with a solution, we probably can't either. That means that the people should lose hope right now.
I don't think these people should lose hope. They just need to move their crops to a neighboring country just temporarily. And then when Zimbabwe's climate is back to what it usually is, they can move back.
What happens if the climate never returns to normal? In that situation, I think we should stay away from Zimbabwe, like in Zambia or another neighboring country.
If the climate never returns, then while they spend time away, their knowledge and technology will improve and they can find methods to grow crops in their own new climate.